Hello, hello, hello. Let's get started. Chapter 11. In Orbit. I have chosen to go into a low orbit, said Mandelbrot. This ship does not carry large amounts of fuel for shuttle mode, and it will be needed for landing here and also for Jeff's eventual trip away from the planet. However, as long as we are off the surface of the planet, we are safe from the robots of Robot City. That's a relief, said Derek. Unless they developed a space program we don't know about. The navigational sensors indicate no sign of that, said Woolruff. Suggest I take manual controls. Mandelbrot can reconnect ship computer. Agreed, said Mandelbrot. The first law won't let them shoot us down or anything like that, said Ariel, but they can monitor us, can't they? And they have a welcoming committee anywhere that we land. Mandelbrot now had a panel open by the controls and was studying the interior. This craft is small and its shuttle mode offers high maneuverability. We should be able to land with an evasive pattern that will make our sight unpredictable until the last few seconds. I'm glad to hear it, said Jeff. This planet is never dull, is it? No, said Derek, but it hasn't always been this dangerous, either. One time we had to solve a human murder, and one time we had to solve the apparent murder of a robot. But it's only recently that we've been anyone's target. Jeff laughed. Last time I was here, they took my brain out of my head and stuck it into a robot. That struck me as dangerous. Ariel laughed. Derek grinned in spite of the pain in his ribs when he started to laugh. Even Woolruff glanced back over her shoulder with an amused look. I'm glad you're okay, said Ariel. And thanks again for coming back, even if it was under mistaken assumptions. Derek felt a twinge of jealousy but said nothing. Now that the crisis was over, his body was stiffening up rapidly again. He reclined on his seat and felt the adhesion snapping in his back. I believe this connection is now sufficient, said Mandelbrot. Jeff, will you test the voice command? Hi, Ashley Smith, Monopolis Ship Computer, said Jeff. Please acknowledge. Standing by, said the computer. Can you assume flight duties? Affirmative. Do so, maintaining status quo. Flight duty assumed. Also, record the following voices into your voice command and prepare to follow any of them. Jeff nodded to the others. Each of them spoke in turn to the computer. What's our next move? Derek asked. We're safe for the moment, but we aren't any closer to Dr. Avery, are we? We know a little more about his aims for Robot City, said Ariel, based on Professor Liang's knowledge of him. But we haven't turned that into a clue to his location, said Derek. Mandelbrot, any ideas? One, Derek, said the robot. Computer, scan for any sign of large-scale crop growth or organic chemical stores. Scanning, said the computer. Dr. Avery's food source may not be in a quantity or storage facility that we can locate from here, said Mandelbrot with a human-like shrug. It is only a possibility. Are carbon compounds used for anything else here? Jeff asked, looking around at everyone. Besides, that hospital place I was in, or whatever you called it. I'm not sure, said Derek. We are safe in saying that the amounts are quite small, said Mandelbrot. In addition, the amount of food required for a single human is small as well. Our best hope of finding a source and quantity is the chance that Dr. Avery may wish to extend his interest in culture to the art of cuisine. Or, at least, maybe he wants better food than those chemicals processors give you, said Ariel. Fresh produce, maybe. Ha! Speaking of which, said Jeff, what did we grab this ship for in the first place? Come on, let's eat. Ariel, the compartments are next to you. Jeff distributed rations to everyone but Mandelbrot, even locating some items Woolruff could tolerate. Extensive agricultural growth located, said the computer, coming on screen. Close up, ordered Mandelbrot. Identify if possible. Everyone watched the screen. A tiny dark spot rapidly grew into a green rectangle. That rectangle, a moment later, was clearly a quilt of many different shades of green. On extreme close-ups the shapes of the plants came clear. Many crops are present. They include corn, sorghum, wheat, and beets. At first scan, Orrerin strains of Earth-native plants predominate. Many crops are unidentifiable at this height and angle." "Maybe the robots bred some of them themselves," said Ariel. "Or they're native here." "Pull back the view," said Mandelbrot. "Show me the surrounding geography." The view drew back to show the spine of a mountain range. It was geologically old, exhibiting the gentle edges and curves of long erosion. The range was fully forested, but occasionally dotted with buildings. The agricultural park was nestled in a high altitude valley from the mountain range itself. "It's not a city," said Jeff. "It's the first place I've ever seen since coming back that isn't all built up." "Us too," said Ariel. "The robots are probably using the forest for lumber and the slopes for industrial power or something," said Derek. "They don't generally let anything go to waste. But these crops are all food. I think this is it. Mandelbrot?" "The probability is extremely high that this is a human food source. We must investigate. I remind everyone that Dr. Avery himself is not necessarily present." "It's a start," said Jeff. "Now what?" "First, we must find a place to land," said Mandelbrot. "These mountains are unsuitable. Second, I suggest that Woolruff and I scout the location alone. Third, the safest place for the rest of you to wait is in the air." "Makes sense to me," said Jeff. "You can use your comlink to reach us if necessary, and we can file this thing ourselves again now." "Derek?" Ariel asked. "Yeah, okay." He shifted uncomfortably, angry that he couldn't participate more. Still, this plan was simple enough. "Computer," said Mandelbrot, "scan for landing sites as close to the crop field as possible." "Currently out of visual range," said the computer. "Scanning will begin with the next orbital pass." "We'll need multiple sites," said Mandelbrot. "The hunters will undoubtedly secure the first one after we've used it." "Computer," said Derek with effort, "don't allow our orbital route to give away our interest in that area." "Acknowledged." Derek collapsed again. He wasn't sleepy, but he was more worn out. The short period of excitement had revitalized him, but now he was paying the price. Everyone seemed to be unwinding from their escape in the ship. Derek lay with his eyes closed and he heard someone switch out the lights directly over him. The darkness on his lids was a relief. No one spoke for some time. Then, quietly, he heard the computer again. "Nearest landing sites to agricultural park coming on screen as follows: 5 within 5-kilometer radius, 2 more within 10 kilometers, 3 more within 20 kilometers." "Are any of them in relatively uninhabited areas, especially away from urban streets?" Mandelbrot asked, displaying the 5 closest sites. "These are the only sites not using city pavement." Derek forced his eyes open. He hated feeling left out. "It's an ocean," said Jeff in surprise. "A stretch of beach," said Ariel. As they watched, 5 separate areas of beach on the screen were colored lightly by the computer. "These sites represent stretches of sand long enough and firm enough for a safe landing," said the computer. "For the purpose of evading the hunters this might as well be one landing site," said Mandelbrot. "When they see the first they will find the others." "We'll have to take the chance," said Derek. "We'll drop off you and Woolruff as fast as we can and take off again. Then we'll go back into orbit until we hear from you." "Or until your fuel level reaches minimum," said Mandelbrot. "I will alert the computer to warn you when you must land." Derek closed his eyes again. "All right," said Jeff. "Computer," said Mandelbrot, "on the next orbit take an evasive route down to the first of the landing sites. Avoid revealing your destination as long as you can." "Acknowledged." Most of the next orbit was uneventful, but Derek found the evasive maneuvers extremely unpleasant. The ship descended, turned as sharply as it could, ascended again, turned again. Each change shifted his weight and pressed his aching muscles. None of the others seemed to notice. The changes began to include speed as the ship worked its crooked way down toward the planet. Derek gripped the strap holding him in both hands and clenched his fist against his teeth against the pain shooting through his back. Finally the descent smoothed out and he realized they were about to land. The ship landed on a surface that listed somewhat to the left and halted so suddenly that everyone was thrown forward against the restraining straps. The door opened automatically and the ladder extended. Mandelbrot and Woolruff were ready to go. Moments later the door closed again, and the ship waited briefly for them to get a safe distance from the ship. "Prepared for lift-off as ordered," said the computer. "Please instruct." "Return to the same altitude we just left," said Jeff. Use evasive pattern and take a different orbit when we get there." "Acknowledged." The acceleration pressed Derek back against his seat again. He closed his eyes, resigned to the ride, and lay still. And this marks the end of the chapter. Hope you enjoy. Bye.